amazing thing about bodybuilding is that you get out of it what you put in.
Yeah, it's like you versus you.
Exactly.
Right? It's not you versus Netflix. It's not you versus your neighbor or your friend or this fucking jack guy at the gym who's probably on steroids. It's literally you versus you. It's just day after day. It's a matter of consistency. But I'd say a lot of people make the mistake of like dirty bulking.
100%. Yeah, so when I'm saying lift heavy weights, like you should only really be lifting heavy ass weights, like maximum of 4 times a week.
Yes.
You can still get results even if you're not doing everything perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, plants, dogs, cats, human species, everything else in between, it, shit, they, there, be, do, da, 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 do, species, planets. We are here on an episode that I still don't know what number because I have not finished or figured out the chronological order. This probably comes out in 2024. But we are here on episode to be determined on the Start Yesterday podcast with Alex. And so what I like to do, instead of me introducing themselves, which I guess typically like professional hosts of podcasts do, I get the guests to introduce themselves because it's, well, you're better at introducing yourself than I would be. So take it from here.
Awesome. First of all, thank you so much for having me, man. This is a real honor. I'm really happy to be here. So I'm Alex. I am a online fitness coach. I specialize in helping young men gain 15 pounds of muscle and to become more intimidating, powerful, and attractive, while also naturally increasing their testosterone using my BMA style of training.
Awesome, dude. Okay. So I guess for you have a sob story? I pretty much ask everybody that. Like, I think out of like the 20 guests that I've had on, 5 of them have been to mental hospitals. Hopefully it hasn't been like, it's ups and downs, you know. Everybody thinks like they're in a bad position. Like, honestly, you just need to play. Like, sometimes the comparison game actually makes sense. But I guess for you, like, what jump started or like got you into this?
I don't know if I really have like a sob story, but
you can make one up.
Yeah, all right. No, but when I was younger, I had like this condition with my stomach called gastroparesis. It's not very common, but basically what it is my stomach was partially paralyzed, so I couldn't digest solid food.
Oh.
So anytime I would eat some solid food, I would throw it up.
That's not good.
Right? So as a result, I was like literally like the first 10 years of my life, I was only eating yogurt.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So obviously I wasn't very well nourished.
Yeah. No
obviously
shit.
I was like really skinny and everything growing up. And then what that kind of turned into once I sort of got past that condition, that turned into more of like a fear of eating food.
Okay.
Right. So I kind of, found like a couple foods that were easy for me to eat. And then I just stuck with those because I was scared that anything else might make me throw up kind of thing.
Interesting, man. Okay. So like you kind of had an eating disorder.
Yeah. In a sense. Yeah.
Okay. And then how did you, I guess, overcome that?
As I was getting older and, by the time I was like 17 or so is when I started like working out in the gym. Mm-hmm. And that's when I very quickly learned that I can't build the confidence in the gym. I can't get the body that I want. I can't build any strength or any stamina if I'm not giving myself the proper nourishment that I need. Right. So from there, I sort of slowly started trying to incorporate some new foods in my diet, mainly, protein sources, chicken, beef, things like that. I went to a little bit of therapy as well. And, from there, what really helped me sort of take it to the next level was when I competed in my first bodybuilding show. And then from there, because I had the drive and the ambition to start trying to win, that sort of drove me to say, okay, I need to incorporate X, Y, and Z into my diet now so that I can present the best physique possible.
Interesting. So how did you, if you don't mind me asking, like how did you get into or how did you overcome the stomach issue? Like you went from eating yogurt to like chicken. How did that happen?
So I actually started going to see an osteopath.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was an osteopath that was able to help my digestive system. I don't know what he did.
Yeah.
I don't know what he did, but whatever he did worked.
I'm a huge fan of osteopaths.
Oh, okay, sick.
Like alternative medicine. Like I've been dealing with a chronic fatigue issue, and I have a guy, I call him Korean Jesus. His fucking name is actually like Jaquan Heaven Lee. So he's heavenly. Right. And I think he's like a Korean Jesus. Like he's just like, he saved my dad's life like 4 times. My dad had like a form of a stroke, which is Bell's palsy. Yeah. So it was like shit was fucked, basically. And he went to Korean Jesus 4 times, and every time it was fine. So huge fan of that. He made me a cocktail. It tastes like shit. It's all these like Chinese natural ingredients. I don't know what's in it, but it's helping my fatigue. I'm not super tired right now. Okay. He also gave me some Korean calcium. I don't know what the fuck that does, but he sent me some Word documents, some YouTube videos in Korean, and I watched them. Still don't understand why I'm taking it, but you gotta listen to Korean Jesus. But on the same aspect, I had a massive issue with my pec minor, and I would go for massage all the time. And the only thing that fixed it, I found, shout out to Yuri. The both of them are actually called Yuri. I'll laugh if you went to the same place, but I doubt it. But it's called My Toronto Osteopath, and like, I don't know where the fuck it is. Did you go there?
No.
But I went there, shout out to them. And they helped a lot with my pec minor, because it's like, if people don't know what osteopath is, from my understanding, it's basically like RMT on steroids, right? So they have a degree or a knowledge in like chiropractor. They also know massage therapy, and then it's like one other, like physiotherapy as well. So they're that combined, and then some of them also know like magic potions, basically, which is the guy that you went to probably created you like a magic potion.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really sick, and that's crazy how that shit works. I would actually love to know, but like, maybe it's like a magician. They don't reveal their secret. That's fucking funny. So, you did that. You overcame that, you started eating, and then I guess like what launched the fitness journey? Like go through like the stages of like a young Alex to like jacked Alex.
So when I was 16, 17, I wasn't feeling good about myself. I wasn't happy with myself. I didn't have really any confidence. I played some sports and everything, and I was all right at hockey and baseball, but yeah, I didn't have much confidence in myself. I was very shy. And, I just wanted to sort of do something to sort of prove to myself that I can do something, right? So that's why I started working out, and I wanted to start seeing changes in my body, right? Like when I started seeing some changes, but of course I wasn't eating properly.
Yeah.
So I got a little bit of changes, but then it stopped after a couple of years, right?
Because you probably plateaued. So, exactly. So how long were you working out when you had like the gut issue?
So the gut issue was fixed by the time I started working out.
Okay. But then you had, but like, then I had scared.
Like, yeah, but then I was scared. So that's from, I started working out when I was like 16, 17, and then probably up until I was 21.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's some people struggling with like an eating disorder of sorts. I had an eating disorder. How did you overcome that? Like where you were basically, because that makes sense, from literally a decade over time, you were so used to like the yogurt thing.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's like, you're probably scared because people are, from a psychological standpoint, humans are scared of change, and they're just avoidant of it. And right. Exactly. And then you probably build up all this anxiety and fear. Oh my God, I'm going to die because I'm going to eat a chicken breast. I know that sounds funny in general, but I'm sure like you were genuinely probably fucking scared.
Exactly.
It's the same thing with me. Like I'll tell you more about me, but I guess for you, how did you overcome that?
It really just came from a sense of not being tired of not being happy.
Okay.
Right? I was tired of being unconfident, and I knew what I had to do, right? Like this is something that kind of everybody knows, is that if you want to make a change in your life, you have to change something.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So I knew I wasn't getting proper nutrition. I knew that I was probably in a position where I might not live very long because I'm not eating right.
That's true.
Right? I knew I was in a position where I didn't feel good about how I felt physically, emotionally, mentally, and physically, right? Like I knew that I wasn't in a good spot. So I just started trying to make changes, hoping that something would stick.
Yeah.
And thank God it did.
Okay. No, that makes sense, dude. It's like the analogy I always like to say was like, I was at a certain point, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
Right? And I tried, you're on the other end of the spectrum per se, where like you were super skinny and I was super puffy or super fat, right? And I don't know what, I guess if I had to choose, I would probably choose really skinny, because in my opinion, it's much easier. And again, this is like a bias standpoint, but like, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like it's easier to build muscle and like put on size and like just kind of eat more than like have to completely 180 like your whole life. Like if someone's overweight, they have so many unhealthy habits that they have to kind of change and shift into different shit. When someone's just underweight, or they're skinny and they want to get jacked, it's like, yeah, there's habits that they have to build, but it's not like you have to do a 180. You kind of have to do like a 90-degree turn, right?
They both have their own challenges. I think that they're both a 180, just obviously you're going in different directions, right? In one sense, you got to eat more and lift more weights. In the other sense, you have to eat less and do more cardio typically.
Yeah, I guess. I think a lot of people with weight loss, they do too much cardio though.
I agree with that. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
Cardio is actually like way overdone. Like, it's not the be all and end all.
100%.
I think if more overweight people did more strength training, if they, instead of an hour of cardio, they did an hour of strength training, they might not see the results overnight where like the next morning they lost weight on the scale, but they would see it compounding over a year because their metabolism's better. 100%. They have more muscle, they have more strength. And I think people lose sight on that. They want to go from 0 to 60, or they forget this is a marathon, this isn't a sprint. And even if you're trying to build muscle, like you're 140 pounds right now, it's the same thing. You can't go from 140 to C-bum overnight. Like, I mean, great, C-bum does other things as well, but like he naturally, he was still fucking unbelievable, right? Like I've seen Quentin, what's his last name? Beastwood, whatever. Yeah. Him naturally, it's just like you're gonna tell me we don't come from apes? Like, that guy's a gorilla. Like, holy shit. And I mean that in like the nicest way possible, right? Like, that guy, man, like he could cosplay a Caesar, and he didn't even need any makeup. Like, okay, that's a funny joke. Planet of the Apes is one of my favorite movies. But with my eating disorder, I had something called ARFID, which was basically, it's an acronym, I forget what it stands for, but I ate the same 5 foods. It was basically the Happy Meal menu. Because like a lot of kids go through the stage where they go through like a chubby phase from like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. At least some of them do. Like, not obviously there's kids that are active, but I find or see a lot of kids go through a chubby phase. They're not necessarily fat. They just could lose 20 pounds, right? But then they grow out of it. I never grew out of it. It was I ate the Happy Meal menu literally for like fucking 12 years. And then it got so bad to the point where I was on a liver transplant list because everything I ate was super high in fat. So I had fatty tissue on my liver. I had an alcoholic. I was 13 years old and I had an 80-year-old alcoholic liver in my body. And it wasn't like an 80-year-old gave me his liver. It was like I damaged my liver to the point where it's like I drank every day for 80 fucking years. And then the one thing that really changed was I went to an eating disorder specialist, and she shout out to Susan. She's not gonna watch this, but she focuses on like bulimia, anorexia, also like binge eating. But she helped me like basically, how do I say it? Like break down the foods that I was eating to like, it was such an anal degree where it's like a chicken finger was not a chicken finger. So if I went to like, you ever been to Jack Astor's and had the chicken fingers there? Yeah. Those are good. Like, those are fresh. Like, I hated those when I was younger. I only liked like frozen shitty chicken fingers. And it's like, it was so bad. Like there was only certain places I would go to. I wouldn't go to like Burger King and get nuggets. I would throw it up. Huh. So it got to the point where like I had to make it at my home. I bought a deep fryer, and I would literally just like deep fry. And I know this sounds ridiculous, but it was that bad. So I would like tear it down and dissect it basically and break it down and like go from a deep fryer at my house to then an air fryer to then like baking it to then like grilling it to then baking, and then there, boom, I can eat chicken. Right. And then in between I was gagging all the fucking time, but then eventually it got to the point where it's like I stomached it. Yeah. Right. So for you, it was just more of a matter of like, fuck it, I got to do this? Or like, were you ever like, I don't know, because it kind of sounds like it was an extreme eating disorder, and you kind of just like, how the fuck did you just like rip off a Band-Aid type of shit, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of what I did. I did kind of just rip off the Band-Aid. I mean, it was over time. Like, it wasn't literally an overnight kind of thing. So I just started with introducing foods that were common at parties, because I was very self-conscious about my eating disorder, if that's what we want to call it. I was very self-conscious of it, because whenever, I'd have a friend's birthday party and they'd bring out the pizza or burgers or whatever, I wouldn't eat it. I would have my, food packaged with me. So I'd be almost antisocial in that way, because I felt weird. I felt like a weird kid, right? So then I started with, those kind of foods like pizza and burgers, things that I could be social with, which it's not nutritional at all.
But I mean, that's very logical. I struggled with the same issues.
Yeah. Right? I just wanted to be social with my friends.
And
right.
I mean, for me, it wasn't even friends. It was like just even family. Like, I would have to bring my own food or eat before. It was really bad. Like, I would go to like family, whatever, like Shabbat dinner, and I wouldn't eat shit. Right. I would just like, I would eat Wendy's literally before, or I would sometimes bring Wendy's in, but then it was also like super uncomfortable. Right. Mm-hmm. It's like, it was so, I don't know. I don't really wish eating disorders on anyone, whether it's bulimia, whether it's anorexia, whether it's like binge eating. Binge eating, is that debatable? That's not really an eating disorder. I mean, it depends on the how extreme of a degree. Yeah. But anything else in between, I think it goes hand in hand with like health and fitness. You kind of have to take action and be motivated to change. Yeah. It's not going to happen overnight. You can't change it overnight. You can't just wake up and be like, well, you should wake up and be like, okay, I'm done. But then you have to actually take action and like steps into it. So for you, you got into fitness, you became a coach. What are some like achievements or things that you're happy with? I know you did a show, right? Or multiple. Yeah.
So I've been competing since 2019. So 5 years now. I'd say I've done pretty well. I haven't lost a regional show since 2020. So with that, kind of, I started it because I wanted something to sort of help me get over the food thing, right? I needed sort of like a goal, something competitive, because like I said, I played sports when I was younger. I'm a very competitive person. I like to win, right? So I wanted to sort of have that goal where I can definitively say if I won or not, but then also have the side goal of, getting over my food. So I started that, and then I kind of fell in love with it, the discipline of it. I learned a lot about myself, about what I'm able to endure mentally. And I found out how much I'm really able to push myself, right? Like being able to do difficult things on difficult days, regardless of what's going on, right? Still being able to say, okay, this is what I need to do in order to stay on track, because that sort of thinking can then be applied to almost every single other area of life to make sure that you're successful in whatever area. So that's why I started getting into competing, and that's why I fell in love with it.
Oh, it's sick, dude.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull it up on the screen. Boom. Look, he has. if anybody's not watching on video, I just put up his Instagram. He's fucking jacked. I mean, you look. Holy shit, your cheeks are shrunken in there. Holy fuck.
Yeah, I get the death face.
Yeah, you got a brutal death face, dude. Holy shit. That's pretty solid though, man.
Thank you, man.
A lot of muscle. I can't do a show. I mean, okay, I could if someone was like, I'll give you $1 million. Like, I'm just not motivated enough. I talked about it. I think it was with my first guest that was here today. Like he's doing Transformation division. He lost 150 pounds.
Okay. At Summer Shredding?
Yeah, he's in like 2 days. He's coming. He was in from like Newfoundland. Oh, cool. Shout out to Ashen. But I just can't fathom doing it. Like, I have to have serious motivation. I don't have enough in myself to be like, because I'm sure you could attest to it. It's like potentially like you probably canceled clients at some points because your energy was so low, right? I don't see the benefit of doing it to that degree, right? Or like it taking over my life, or like the social aspect where I rarely go out. When I do, I'm not wanting to really eat cold chicken breast, right? And I respect the fuck out of anybody that does bodybuilding, right? But when someone looks at me and they're like, "Oh, you have muscle. You must be a bodybuilder." No, I appreciate bodybuilders. I like bodybuilding. I'm not a bodybuilder because I'm not probably going to step on stage, right? I guess it's a different, and maybe you can touch on this, where it's like, it's just a different degree of mental discipline that I think a lot of people, it's somewhat of an extreme, but I'd rather it is an extreme, but I think it's a healthy extreme, or a healthy delusional extreme. And I'm not saying that in like a derogatory way. It's right. It's like, it's a healthy delusion. Right. So is there any tips that you would have in terms of like, because you've done how many shows? Like 5, 6?
I've done 9.
Oh, so that's a fuck ton. Yeah. Okay, so that's 9 peak weeks. That's 9 I hate my life moments. Like, that's a lot of shit, right? If I did a show, it's one and done. Like, I am done, right? Yeah. So how the fuck do you deal with that like mental aspect? How do you get to that mental degree?
It's you got to be a little sick in the head, I think.
Yes.
Right? Like, you got to, because I enjoy that. I don't enjoy the pain and the suffering that goes through it, but I enjoy proving to myself that I can get to the other side.
Okay.
Right? I enjoy proving to myself that if I really if I sit tight, if I stay disciplined, if I stay on track, then I will reach my goal, period. Right? The amazing thing about bodybuilding is that you get out of it what you put in.
Yeah, it's like you versus you.
Exactly.
Right? I made a video the other day. It was like, it is you versus you. It's not you versus Instagram. It's not you versus Netflix. It's not you versus your neighbor or your friend or this fucking jack guy at the gym who's probably on steroids. It's literally you versus you. And I feel like a lot of people lose sight on unrealistic expectations, and then it's just literally like the guy in the mirror or the woman. Okay, I'm not trying to be sexist here. The person in the mirror, it's that reflection. And then that's the beautiful thing about bodybuilding, because a lot of people, some people just go into it because they think they're going to like get clients. Some people to get into it because they want to, whatever, they want like gratification. Yeah. But really, it should just be I want to bring the best me that I can, and then it's you versus you.
Exactly.
And then if it's a happenstance that you so win, that's just because like you're fucking jacked and you did better than everybody else. But it's not. I'm sure like you didn't probably get into it because it's like, oh, all I care about is winning. Because God forbid you lost your first show, or maybe you lost your first show, and then that probably would have deflated the fuck out of you.
Yeah.
Right. It's just not healthy.
Exactly. Like all of my clients that I prepare for shows, I always tell them is like, listen, I think you're going to do great. You look incredible. We did the best that we could for this prep.
Exactly.
But you don't control who else shows up.
Yep.
Right? Especially in a subjective sport where it's just 5 judges on a panel sitting there deciding whose body looks best.
Yeah.
Right? It's completely subjective. You don't control who else shows up. Someone could come, jacked out of their minds. Yep. Right? What are you going to do?
No. Right? And it's also genetics, it's DNA, right? Like it's
there's a whole lot of
there's
factors,
certain
exactly.
things. Like it's like, I said it before, like Chris Bumstead, like Canadian, I feel like Canadian genetics are like pretty peak. Like there's certain guys that just Canadian genes are just really solid because I think we're like lumberjacks, like our DNA or some shit like that. I don't know, but like Quint, imagine like you're in a show and then fucking Quentin shows up, natural. Like
what are you gonna do?
You're fucked. Like so, I think that's a very valid point, and it's not just with bodybuilding. It can go with just in general health and fitness. All you can do is your best.
Exactly.
And you like that shouldn't deter you from waking up the next morning and doing it again and again and again. But it does for a lot of people. And then they ultimately fail because like, oh, I didn't lose 2 pounds this week. Right? Yeah. Oh, I'm done. Right? And how many people like they try every diet under the sun. They go over and over and over again. And then they've lost 20 pounds 20 times in 20 years. And then they're in the same fucking spot because they give up and they quit and they don't push through the hard times and they're not consistent with it. Right?
Exactly. You just got to be better than you were yesterday, right? Like you have to remember every single day, you can't promise that you're going to be perfect on your diet or your regimen for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Because you're a human, you're going to screw up at some point, right? You're going to make a mistake. But you can promise one more day. You can say, I'm going to be good today. I'm going to hit my goals for today, right? You might not be able to say forever, but you can say for today. And really, that's all you need to promise. Just one day at a time. Take it one day at a time. Don't think, oh man, I'm going to have to do this for the rest of my life. Because that starts getting overwhelming too.
Yeah.
Right? 100%. And then people start freaking out. It's like, I can't do this for the rest of my life. That's insane. Right? Just today. One more day.
Yeah. I mean, like for bodybuilding, you're going to have to stick to a diet, right? You're going to have to like be on a strict regimen. But you could still take that same principle. And if you're following a macro-based approach or a lifestyle change, it's just one day. I tell this to all my clients. It's the Finding Dory analogy. It's just keep fucking swimming.
Yeah,
right? I mean, maybe she didn't swear, but like maybe the rated R version,
the unedited version,
just keep fucking swimming, Nemo. But it's just day after day. It's a matter of consistency, and that's what's going to ultimately yield success or failure. And consistency, and then don't fall backwards. Right. Yep. So like, I'm sure you have had clients where it's like you give them a diet. They said they stick to it, and you can fucking tell by the photos. They're just lying, right? And I don't understand that, right? But then you have clients and they cheat, and then it's just, you gotta fucking just pick yourself back up and like dust yourself off. And like, Rocky Balboa, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. You can't stick to a diet. I mean, unless you're bodybuilding. That's a whole other thing, and why it's so hard to do as a sport and as an individual. You have to kind of be mentally insane to be in a diet for like 6 months sometimes. Yeah. Right? You're literally like and when we say diet, like you're not cheating. Like you're literally eating the same shit, or I mean, I'm not shit. That's like, okay, you're eating the same meals 6 times a day, every single day for 6 fucking months. And they're doing this voluntarily. Right? And like, I appreciate, because I do it almost like, I eat a lot of the same stuff consistently, but like there's certain nuances, right? Yeah. I'll add a sauce, or I'll add different spices, or like sometimes I'll do chicken breast, sometimes I'll do chicken leg. But there's not even like that variety when it comes to bodybuilding, because it's really difficult. I mean, there are some people, very few, that could like do the macro-based approach and all this shit. But then even still, like the last 4 weeks, they gotta cut it out and do a strict diet. Like otherwise, you're just gonna look like shit. Exactly. Right? I mean, God bless you. If you want to look like shit and go on stage and take photos, you're probably just gonna be disappointed with yourself because you didn't follow a diet. But I guess that's a whole other story, right? So I'm curious, what the fuck is a BMA? What is your BMA? I mean, it's like, that sounds really cool. Let's get into that.
Yeah, so my BMA method it stands for Bodybuilding Meets Athletics. So my sort of training philosophy with that is, when I think of the, in my opinion, the perfect male archetype in terms of physicality is one who looks awesome, so bodybuilding style training, and then one who can move and be agile and be powerful, right? So that's the athletic style training. So I do create sort of a fusion in that, where in the workouts that my clients are doing, your workouts would kind of start with that bodybuilding style training, and then you'll go into more of an athletic style cardio, right? The other reason why we're doing that athletic style high intensity cardio is because using that in short bursts will actually still create an anabolic response, right? Meaning that it does still contribute to putting on muscle. Whereas when you're doing more of a, low intensity steady state style cardio, that actually creates a catabolic response. It's not major. You're likely not going to, lose any significant muscle from it. But if we can do the opposite, still create an environment where you're putting on more muscle, then I think that that's definitely worth doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So how do you help boost like this testosterone, or is it just like a happenstance of like the strength training?
So testosterone, we take a look at your entire lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not, because testosterone in young men has been decreasing every single year for 30, 40 years now.
It's just the rate of more video games, more screen time,
exactly,
anxiety with talking to women or not fucking women. Just depression's on the rise. Anxiety, yeah, exactly.
And the depression and the anxiety is a result of the testosterone coming down.
Yeah,
right. It's everything from our lifestyle. We're staying inside. We're not moving.
Yeah,
we're not getting any sunlight. We're not sleeping anymore. Right. It's those things, and then obviously in conjunction with working out. Once you start lifting weights, once you start losing some fat, your testosterone will naturally end up coming up on the rise, right? So we look at things such as, sunlight. Like, it only takes 15 minutes a day of being in direct sunlight for your testosterone to boost by 15% in a week.
Interesting.
Like, that's all it takes. It doesn't take much, but so many people just don't do that.
For sure. So is there any, maybe I could pull it up on your Instagram, but I guess, is there any, like, what are your favorite success stories of like clients that you've had?
So, I mean, there's a few. One that I am, working with right now that I'm really proud of is actually, I helped him overcome a porn addiction.
Okay.
So typically when I find that clients have a very difficult time staying disciplined, I find that they also have a bit of a problem with porn as well.
Okay.
So it's just working through that.
Yeah.
Getting them to start journaling.
Yeah.
Right. And instead of whacking off.
Yeah.
Right. Journal, like, what is making you feel the urge to do this right now?
I feel like guys I kind of feel like shunned, or like they're scared to admit it or open up about it. And
yeah, I
mean, as a guy, I have a dick, right? I know, crazy concept.
Whoa.
I couldn't see it for a while, but it's there. Man, you need to confide in someone for help. It doesn't have to be you. Like, I have a buddy, I'm not going to name him, who may or may not listen to this, but he had a similar issue. And he opened up and he shared that with me, and I was like, well, I appreciate you sharing that with me. And it's like, it helps with like opening up and sharing that. Just even like, I'm not a fucking psychologist, right? But I didn't realize he was struggling with that, right? And it kind of can take over your life.
Yes.
Right. And it's bad. It's like, and then what it also does is it kind of like manipulates or changes the chemistry in your brain to where you think that's like real life, or like that's your expectations for real life as well. So then it's like, when you're talking about like romantic shit, or sexual shit, that's not
real life.
That's fucking fantasy. Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes of most of these like performances that people, well, it's not that people don't know, they just like ignore it, right? I mean, let's be real. Like, I mean, I don't think the normal person can like do that shit for like an hour long, right? You got like the fluffers, and you got pills, and you got what, it's not all real. But I'm kind of getting off topic. It's really important just from a mental health aspect, which I'm sure you're an advocate of. I'm an advocate because like I tried to take my life twice. It's important to open up and share with 100%. People. It's like, you don't need a fucking I promise you this is not going to be an ad for BetterHelp. Okay, I hate that I'm not a huge fan of like their marketing, and it's a really giant cash grab that a lot of YouTubers do, but it doesn't have to be a therapist. You can just confide in your closest friends, and like honestly, like that will bring you guys closer together, because what's probably going to happen is you talk to your close friend, you open up, you maybe shed a tear, and they reciprocate, and then they'll probably open up and share something, and then you come closer together and you have a greater bond. Because when my friend told me that, like, he was opening up and was sharing that with me, and like that's a very fucking vulnerable personal thing to do. I'm not gonna make fucking fun of him. If I did, guess what, I'm a piece of shit and we're not friends anymore. Right.
I find it's very important to, specifically with people that you care deeply about, whether it be your mom, a girlfriend, best friend, whatever it is, to tell them specifically what you're struggling with, because that actually does help to motivate you to get over whatever it is that you're working through. Because when you're talking with someone that you deeply care about, you don't want to disappoint them.
Yeah.
Right? So if, for just staying on the example of porn, if you're trying to work through that and then you end up, getting that urge, they're going to be in the back of your head, right? Because they know that you're trying to work on yourself. Mm-hmm. And if you, quote unquote, fail at this moment, then, you're letting them down as well. You're not just letting yourself down. And sometimes that's a lot more motivating than just simply saying, I don't want to let myself down. Sometimes, unfortunately, a lot of people care more about others than themselves.
Yeah, that's really true. And I think that's a big reason or proponent of having a coach.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it helps if you have a support system, but it's also helpful to have external motivation in the sense of someone that's been through the same struggles and have helped people in a similar position as you. I mean, obviously it's great to talk to your mom or especially your girlfriend. If obviously like you're addicted to porn, I'm not a therapist. I would just probably advise you, it's logical for the sake of your relationship to probably share what's going on.
Yeah.
Because otherwise this shit's not going to last, because she's probably going to feel like, yo, you're not telling me something, and then it's going to like blow up. You're going to have this huge argument. You could just fucking avoid the argument. I mean, it's a hard conversation to have, but like chances are,
gotta have it,
like if you like this chick and she likes you, she's not going to like fucking leave you because you're opening up and being vulnerable. It's the same thing that I told you about like the friend analogy, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, shit. Genuinely, you're welcome. If you tell her this shit and she leaves you, she ain't the one,
bro.
Right? So like, you should just not have a level of emotional intelligence. So that's fine. Like, go on to the next one. But it's a really important conversation to have. So go back to like, other than the porn addiction, you guys helped him overcome that. Like, what did you guys do, or like, what did you like gain like 50 pounds, or what happened?
Yeah. So he was very, very skinny. He's kind of a skinny fat.
Yeah.
And basically starting with working out and eating, he couldn't stay disciplined whatsoever. Like he would have a couple good days, and then he's for the rest of the week he couldn't stay on track. So then I started trying to on our weekly check-in calls, I started trying to dig a little bit deeper. Like, okay, what's going on? Like, why is this so difficult for you? Right? Like, it's not a challenging task, right? Going to the grocery store, meal prepping, it's not challenging. It's a little bit time consuming, but it's not difficult, right? So I started trying to dig a little bit deeper. Okay, what's going on? Like mentally, like what's going on in your head? And he was talking about, I don't want to get, too far.
No, don't get too personal, but yeah.
Stuff. But what ended up happening was, once we sort of got over that, he was able to stay a lot more disciplined in the gym and in other areas of his life as well. He started feeling a lot more confident about himself. So we were able to put on 15 pounds of muscle over the next 5 or 6 months.
That's for most people that don't know, that's fucking really solid. Like, especially if we're talking natural, which I'm sure most of your clients are, right? Like, you can probably, like, if it's your first year, you could probably gain like 30, 35, 40 max if your genetics are good, and then it kind of gets from there. Yeah. No, but in a full year, and that's if everything's like you're crossing.
That's if everything's like perfect. Yeah. So yeah, we were able to put on a solid 15 pounds, and he, he's talking about how like colors seem brighter and smells smell better. Like it's really like, I find that very inspiring to hear. Yeah. Right. Like he was talking to me about this last week, and it was, it really stuck with me a lot. So I was really happy to be able to make a difference.
You changed his fucking life. Yeah. And I mean, I get emotional when like clients tell me that, where it's like, I mean, when we boil everything down, like that's what it's all about. It's about helping people. Like that's why you're probably a coach. That's why I'm a coach. It's to fucking help people. And it's really touching when, I mean, he didn't say it verbatim, but you did. You fucking changed his life. Yeah. Right? He went from an addict of porn to like not probably having any confidence in himself whatsoever to now it's the complete 180 of that. Yes. And it's only the beginning, because I'm sure you guys are going to continue working together and he's going to gain another fucking 15 pounds or whatever, right? Cool, man. Exactly.
And then also, the guy on the left here, Colin.
Yeah.
So he competed in his first show, and we're able to drop 54 pounds in 5 months to get him ready for a show. Jeez. I mean, obviously that's, bodybuilding diet.
Insane. No, but I was going to say insane discipline though.
Yeah, insane discipline. He absolutely killed it. I'm really proud of the work that he was able to do.
That's fucked, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy. Woo. That's solid. Did he win?
He didn't win. It is a massive, massive show. He just needs a little bit more muscle.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I didn't want to be a dick, but like, I'm not like a huge critique, but like, he could definitely bring up like the delts and the arms for sure. His quads look great though.
Yeah, no, he definitely needs more size, and he knew that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, he came in shredded. He looked awesome, and he was super happy with how he did.
And he did his best, and that's all you can fucking ask
Exactly.
for, right? You can't unless you're gonna stick a needle in your ass. You can't just magically gain muscle overnight, especially like naturally. That shit takes fucking time, right?
It takes time.
Like even if you have great genetics, it still takes fucking time.
Yeah.
Right. So we talked about that. And then you're also a posing coach, right?
Yes.
So I guess that goes hand in hand, like because you did a bunch of shows. So
Yeah.
you just like, did you learn it over time from yourself, or did you also like go to other coaches and then like you took from them and then like yeah?
So I went to another coach for a couple of years, Antoine Hamlet.
Oh, I know he fucking does everybody. What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he's like the guy.
Yeah, he's like I forgot his name, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, so I went to him for a while, and I was able to pick up a few things, and then that in combination with sort of my own creativity that I was sort of able to put together, I was able to find like a lot of tips that, you know, made a lot of sense to a lot of people in terms of how to pose for the judges specifically, right? Like everyone's able to pose in the mirror and they're able to look good in the mirror.
It's very different.
But it's very different when you're actually on stage, because you got to remember, you know, primarily the judges are not at eye level with you, right? You're up on stage, they're down below. So it's just angling the body to the judges to accentuate your V taper, to make sure that your waist isn't too wide, to make sure that to make sure that your shoulders don't look too narrow, and to make sure that you look as conditioned as possible, right? You want to be able to show the work that you put in. You don't want to diet for 6 months and then you just don't know how to display it, right? You want to be able to display it so that you can, you know, show what you did.
No, for sure. That's a very interesting point. I didn't think of that, where the judges are not at eye level. So you have to you kind of have to, you're getting judged, so you have to kind of do it for them. It's not like you're doing it for the photos or the cameras,
Exactly.
right? I mean, it's kind of like, I guess, to each their own, but it depends exactly what their goal is, right? But I feel like most people, they want to win. So then you would probably want to be posed for the judging.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And the cameras are next to the judges anyways too.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
I see. I've never been to a show. I haven't done the show, but that would, I guess, make more sense. Cause then, well, I mean, that'd be pretty fucked up if like the camera's over there and like the judges are over there. I mean, granted, you could just pose twice, but like, yeah, no, that makes a lot more sense. Like the camera dude is probably like behind the judge. So I guess in terms of nutrition, like what's your philosophy with that?
So I am a huge advocate of sort of an ancestral-ish kind of diet. Right, so for those of you who don't know, the ancestral diet is really just an emphasis on animal products and also some fruit and a little bit of vegetables.
Carnivore-ish.
Carnivore-ish.
Yeah, okay, that's solid.
Yeah, so that's sort of, you know, what I like to push. I'm a huge advocate for, you know, shopping at local farms, making sure that your meat is grass-fed, grass-finished. Right, because what that does, the grass-fed, grass-finished, is actually a lot easier for you to digest. Right, it is actually better nutritionally as well. It's better fatty acids in there, and then also you're going to find that you're more full, so you're not going to overeat. Right, whereas if you're eating grain-fed beef, you're more likely to overeat that. And then on top of that, going to a local farm, you're pumping your money into the local economy, so it's actually going to benefit your neighborhood more than if you were to go to any like old grocery store, right?
Yeah, I'm a pretty big advocate of that as well. I mean, if someone has the ability to, like, we live in like a metropolitan area, so it's kind of fucking difficult. I mean, there is like Farm Boy, but like also pricing is a lot. But Costco has some decent meat. Like you can get, I think, organic grass-fed ground beef or bison.
You got to be careful with the labeling though, because grass-fed is different from grass-fed, grass-finished.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So grass-fed is they're just fed grass.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much grass, they could just have a couple blades of grass.
Oh, okay.
And you can still call it grass-fed.
That's hilarious.
Right? So 100% grass-fed, grass-finished means that they're only fed grass for their entire life.
Wow.
Right? Whereas typically when you see grass-fed, they're fed grass for the majority of their life, and then they're fed grains at the end of their life to sort of fatten them up a little bit more before they're slaughtered. Right?
Isn't that wonderful? Shout out to all the vegans. My goal in life is to make up for all the vegans.
There you go. Eat 2 steaks so that you cancel out a vegan.
I mean, how you do it. I honestly, yeah, I think that's about right. With the amount of chicken and steak that we probably both consume, we've canceled out like 10 vegans.
There you go.
I mean, not shitting on vegans, but like the chances of you watching this are very small, and it's like
it's not your audience.
Not even fucking close. Anybody that takes Ozempic or is vegans, they just that ain't it. Although like to each their own. I'd like do vegetarian with some eggs. Like that's like vegan is just so extreme.
Yeah.
It's just, and that's a delusion to like to be delusional. Like it's not a healthy delusion. That's just like, in my opinion, at least. Like, you're not gonna like. I can't. You're not gonna have butter. Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't get it. I really don't. Because you're what? You're trying to save the animal. Like, we are literally carnivores from our inception.
Exactly.
Like we
got the pointy teeth,
right?
We come from
apes,
a reason,
right? Like literally. Like, I mean, I think you're a Christian, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm a believer that we come from apes. I'm not opposed to like the argument of like a higher power and like maybe he created dinosaurs and then the dinosaurs came the crocodiles and then evolution. But like we are evolved from apes, right? So like when we were cavemen, we ate meats, and like I don't know why they want to fuck with that like chemistry or DNA or like when we were from like, I don't know, as we evolved as species, you know?
Exactly. And veganism is so new too. Like we've been eating meat forever, for the entirety of human history, literally. Up until like what, 20 years ago?
Basically.
Like
and I don't get it. Like
we don't change that fast, you know?
No, it's crazy. Like, okay, obviously we're in the year like 2024 BC, but like Jesus literally died, and then there was another like 50,000 years of some type of human species. Yeah. So we're like, what the? Why are we trying to fuck with human evolution? Exactly. It's crazy, man. That's, I don't know, but that fuck the vegans. That's the more of the story. But I guess we touched on the Christianity a bit, and I mean, I'm a guy. I'm like not a super religious person. I'm born Jewish. I'm technically agnostic now. I don't know. How does like faith play a role in like your day to day, or like do you like do praying or preaching or? I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm just curious.
I don't do any like preaching or anything. I do pray every day. I do read the Bible every single day. I actually started finding Christ pretty recently. Okay. So first of all, I don't want to, sort of label myself as like Christian or Catholic or Orthodox or whatever. I prefer to just call myself a follower of Christ, because if I label myself into that religion, then it kind of implies that I have to, fall in line with all of that. Yeah. Whereas I'd rather just be like, well, what did Jesus actually say?
No, that's understandable.
What did Jesus actually do, right? Like, I don't care about what the Pope says.
That's understandable. I'm a big fan of Jesus. He was Jewish.
He was
Jewish. My God is Jewish Jesus. So waiting for him to come back. There's a sign on like on a highway where there's a church, and it's like, when Jesus comes, will you be ready? And I always say that joke to my dad, and he's like, maybe. I'm fucking ready. Like, hey man, you want to come? I'm ready for you, bro.
I'm ready.
We dap up and be like, yo, what's up, bro? Exactly. Jewish Jesus, if you're listening to this, you want to come on the pod?
If you want to come on the pod. But yeah, so kind of what happened was maybe 2 years ago or so, I sort of ended up falling into, kind of a darker spot mentally. And then I started reading up a lot on Stoicism. So that'd be like, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, these guys. I started reading a lot of their stuff, and it did help a lot, but I didn't feel I didn't feel fulfilled from all of it though. Until I started sort of reconnecting with Christ. Like, I was raised as a Catholic. I went through like my baptism, communion, confirmation, all that stuff. Okay. But I was never really like, and like, I would, say like, yeah, I believe in Jesus, but like I would never feel it, in a sense, right? Until, more recently, when I got into another dark place, and I felt like the philosophy just wasn't fulfilling it enough. I didn't feel complete with that. It didn't, it didn't feel full to me. And then I started, reading the Bible. I read the Gospels, and that really started, changing my perspective on things. That, Jesus, in my opinion, was the ultimate Stoic, right? Like, he really just did the things that he had to do, the things that he came to Earth to do, and that's it, period. Right? Like, he knew from the moment he was born that he was going to go and die on that cross, right? And he still did all the things that he needed to do in order to go and die on that cross for our sins.
It's like modern day Elon Musk.
Yeah. Something like that.
I don't know. I mean, like, I think that's really cool though, because a lot of people, like, when they're in a dark spot, a lot of people like reach out to a higher power, and it's not a bad idea. I feel like religion is a necessary thing for a lot of people to be heard or feel felt and feel found and have, I guess, a someone to talk to or something to believe in. I'm just not of that same degree, but there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like if I were to take up any religion, it would be Christianity, because it's the most believable. The reason I don't really fall into any religion or necessarily love the Jewish religion, and it's not to shit on any Jews or like for me to go to hell. Like it's literally like I always say the joke like Dr. Seuss wrote the Bible, because I know we come from apes, right? So you're trying to convince me that in like fucking whatever BC we ate some fucking matzah in the middle of the desert. Mazel tov. Like you know, like I like the Jewishness of like, it's weird, they're quirky, but like if I were to like, I would rather go to church and like sing hallelujah, you know, that'd be like more not just entertaining, but like I could feel like I've sometimes,
you feel more empowered with it.
Yeah, I can't remember the motivational speaker, but he's like a church guy ish. He like does a lot of worshiping of God. It's like Lee something. But I like him, and he's like a motivational speaker, but he also is a big proponent of like faith. So he combines the two a lot.
Right.
And he's very Christian. And like, that's something I could see where I could go to church on Sunday and be like, I'm ready to like believe in Jesus. But like, I couldn't do that and be like, I can believe in like, what do we call him? Shalom. We call him Hashem. I don't believe in the Hashem, right? Where there's some like fat old Jewish guy singing opera in a language that I don't understand. Right. Because they speak Hebrew in most Jewish churches. And I don't understand that. But I had my bar mitzvah, and then I kind of announced my atheism, but then I backed that and I'm like, not atheist because I don't hate God. I don't think it's bad. I just think I'm agnostic. It was like higher power. But
like there could be something, but you just don't know what.
The thing I have a trouble stomaching is like, Jesus is dead, right? And I don't necessarily think that he wasn't alive. There's like too much facts that like show that he was probably a thing. Yeah. But why, if there is a God, why are like there kids that are 6-year-olds dying of leukemia, right? Or like why is like ISIS a thing or some shit like that? And that's just like, I guess where my brain goes with the religion. But I don't want to like make this into like this whole like, you know, like I'm not trying to join the KKK here. So, that's just my 2 cents. Okay, and we're back from the piss break. So, I guess training philosophy. You follow more of like you said bodybuilding and like then more athletic type of hybrid combo. Do you like, I guess, do you do like periodization? Like what are your like sets, reps, or is it like customized one-on-one, like per individual? Like break that down.
Yeah, so I mean, periodization is kind of necessary for everyone. Like you need to be able to sort of periodize where you are based on what your current abilities are, and then also where your goals are from there, right? So you need to always sort of be periodizing your training style. But my main philosophy while working out is high intensity over everything.
Really?
High intensity.
So like you're doing like A1, A2, like PHP, or like do you do like supersets, or how do you do that?
So what I do is I have a low volume, high intensity approach. So really with every single exercise, typically, I mean, obviously there's some nuance here, right? But typically we'll be looking at 2 working sets. Okay. You know, somewhere in the rep range of 6 to 8, or, you know, around there, 5 to 7.
Depends on the exercise, definitely.
Right, depends on the exercise. And then training to failure. Right? So
on both sets?
Well, first set probably leaving 1 in the tank.
Like top set, like RPE 9, and then the back off. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So that's sort of my training philosophy. That's what I found has worked for me. That's what I found works for my clients. Yeah. And getting to failure, or at least close to failure, is necessary in order to stimulate full growth.
Oh, for sure, especially as natural, 100%. Exactly. And I feel like that's a very, very good point. Like so many people leave gains on the table, because they don't even understand what RPE 10 is. I mean, personally,
people don't know what failure is.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll attest to that. Like, I think RPE 10 is like a degree to where. See, I could do a failure set, but that's not RPE 10, right? Yeah. I think RPE 10 is like reserved for like maybe 1 set in that given like day, but even still, like for a lot of clients or a lot of people, they don't need to touch that shit. But to take it to failure, like people don't know what that is. Like, people think they take it to failure, but they have no clue. They have absolutely zero clue, and that leaves so much gains on the table. On the table.
People think that as soon as the muscle starts burning, then that's it.
And then, bro, you got another 10 reps in the tank. Exactly. It's called suck it up. That's lactic acid, right?
It's not supposed to be easy. If it was easy, everyone would be jacked,
right? And yeah, it's the same thing with weight loss. But I mean, especially when it comes to building muscle.
Exactly.
Holy shit! Like so many people need to understand that. Like, and there's so many mid fucking physiques because they train like. I'm not gonna say they train like bitches. I'm just gonna say they train. Well, some train like pussies, genuinely. Like they're afraid to touch heavy weight, but then some just train without any and like intelligence. Exactly. Right? And I'm not saying you have to be all this like biomechanical fucking bullshit, because like that's like the newest wave. Yeah. You could get away with just like regular ass compound shit. But if you're doing regular ass compound shit, you have to progressive overload it and do it heavy and consistently with like not shitty form. Right? Exactly. But people's form is shit, and they don't train properly, and they don't know how to train to fucking they don't know how to train to fucking failure, right? And then they leave so much gains on the table, and they're wondering why they look like shit.
Exactly. Exactly. And like people really don't realize, I mean, whether it's, you're building muscle or losing fat, like you should train the same way. You should always train with the intention of putting on muscle. The only thing I would say is really the food.
Yes and no. I would say if you're trying to lose weight, the intention shouldn't necessarily be muscle. It's a part of it, but more so focus on strength, because it's really difficult to put on size. Like if you're overweight and you've never picked up a dumbbell or you've never touched weight before, you're going to build muscle by default. But if you're choosing one over the other, it should be strength over the muscle, because if you're losing weight, you're losing fat, you should be in a caloric deficit. It's very difficult to put on appropriate muscle, as you would know, if they're like in a deficit.
Yeah. So I totally agree with that. But the training itself should be with the intensity and with the intent of putting on muscle, even though you're in a deficit, you're not going to put on muscle.
Yeah, so still like somewhat training to failure. I guess it depends on what stage they're at in their fitness journey. Like, I mean, if someone's 400 pounds, almost every set they do unintentionally is going to be training to failure, right? Because like, if I did a set of box squats body weight, I mean, I know how it feels because I was 380 doing box squats on my couch, right? Yeah. That's 20 reps of that. I wanted to die. Yeah. Right? Like literally shit, like shoot me in the head.
Yeah, failure is going to look different for everybody.
I guess it's subjective of where you are. But I would just caution you don't need to go everything to failure. It depends on the and also some exercises, like some muscles, they need more volume. They need more, what's the word? Repetition, or you need to hit it multiple times. Like I know your delts, your arms, if you train it properly, I think that's actually an interesting point. I feel like so many people, like they do an entire arm day. I don't know how you program shit, but some people do like an entire arm day, like shoulders, or they'll just do arms. Bro, if I did an entire arm day, I'm done in 15 minutes. Yeah. Right? You need like 4 sets maximum, and then you could do it like another 2 or 3 times, or you could do another time in the week. Like I think like with delts or with arms, you need more volume. It's still heavy, trained to failure, right? But people like hit it once a week and then they're like, oh, why isn't it growing?
Right? It's not that they need more they need more frequency, not more volume. Right? When I think of volume, I think of it more so within a single workout. You don't necessarily need more volume, you just need more frequency, right? So hitting that multiple times throughout the week.
Gotcha. Okay. And so we talked about, we talked about fitness. We talked about me joining the KKK. Talked about your principles. So this is an interesting question. Like, what would you say is like your top tips for anyone looking to boost testosterone? Because I know whether it's weight loss, like, I mean, a shit ton of like my audience are like a lot of people that are trying to lose weight. They're very low in testosterone just because. Fun fact, I knew this, or I found this out. When you're overweight, and the reason why guys are overweight and they have like tits or they have smaller genitals is because chances are you're eating a lot more fat, and that causes more estrogen development in your body as a male and not as much testosterone growth. And I only found this out because I went to my doctor and I was like, Doc, why is my dick so small? And I don't mind admitting this now because it's not the same, right? Woo! And I literally I could put on a C-cup bra, right? Yeah. So that's just food for thought. But I guess whether it's weight loss, whether it's not weight loss, and like someone's skinny and they want to boost testosterone, what would you say is like your top tips to do that?
So the number one thing that I think you should look at is, first of all, of course, diet and exercise. That kind of goes without saying. But also, the main thing really is sleep, right? So testosterone is produced while you're sleeping. Yeah. So if you're not getting enough sleep, then you're not going to produce testosterone, right? Point blank. Now, people don't sleep for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes they're just up, partying, whatever it might be, or they're just working too long, or they just can't fall asleep, right? So in those cases, what I would suggest is, number one, set a reverse alarm, right? So an hour before you have to go to bed, set an alarm so that it's time for you to start winding down.
Interesting.
Right? Try to stay off your phone because we know the blue light, help, it keeps you up.
Yeah.
Try to stay off your phone, do some reading, whatever it might be. I also highly recommend having some kind of journal.
Yeah.
When I say journal, I don't mean like, you got to be like, Dear Diary, this is what I did today, right? But just something to write stuff down in, because if you're having trouble falling asleep, you have a busy mind. Yeah. Sometimes it helps to just sort of transfer that onto paper. Right?
I'm a huge, I can't sleep until every thought is out of my brain.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I should do journaling. I don't. I do it in my phone, which is fucking stupid. So probably don't listen to me when I'm saying that. But when I have an idea, I have to get it out. Yeah. I would say whether it's the stuff that you have in your head, or it's gratitude, or it's affirmations, those are really good things to do.
100%.
As well.
100%. Yeah. So like sometimes I'll even just write down like 30 things I'm grateful for today.
Yeah.
Or, something that I found inspirational today.
Yeah.
Things like that. Or also just if you have a bunch of random thoughts, just write down the words that pop in your head.
I just don't think it's the most effective thing, like you said, where it's like, dear diary, today I went to the mall.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, bro, you might as well just like,
there's no point.
There's no point. Like, what are you getting out of that? I mean, granted, like it's, I guess, making you tired and you're like, can it make it fall asleep, but you should do something with purpose. And like if you're having gratitude, obviously that helps with gratitude. If you're doing and like law of affirmation stuff, I don't know if that some people are believer of that or not, but even affirmations definitely do help. So the sleep is a big proponent. I would say also where your lighting is in terms of sleep, like a lot of overhead lights, I forget the exact quote, but if you have a lot of overhead lighting, basically we come from like cavemen, so our brains and where we developed, the light was low because of the fire. And I'm butchering basically the explanation of this, but a lot of people can't fall asleep and because our brains, like the lights are overhead. So over at nighttime, try to get like a lamp or try to get lights at eye level. That's a huge thing. And then also let's be real, probably most people aren't gonna like not go on their phone, so blue light glasses is like a non-negotiable.
Blue light glasses, you can even switch your phone screen to be red. True,
yeah.
Right? Like you can even do that, or put it on grayscale or something, right?
Grayscale is actually a life hack as fuck because so many things are like pop color, right? So like they want to, like the reason taxis are painted yellow is because your brain sees that the quickest color. They literally did studies on that, right? That's why there's yellow in the logo. So I guess that's pretty good on test, which is sleep. And then is there anything else other than sleep? So another thing that is actually huge,
it takes multiple components and it just sort of adds it all up, is going for morning and evening walks. Right. So the reason for that, number one, you're going for a walk, you're moving, you're burning calories, you're going to end up losing some fat from that. Number two, you're getting the sunlight. Sun is the best source of vitamin D for our bodies. Vitamin D is necessary for testosterone production.
Man.
And then number three, specifically going in the morning and the evening, getting that morning and evening sunlight directly onto your eyes. I don't mean stare. I do not mean stare at the sun. But letting the light hit your eyes, what that does is that actually helps with your circadian rhythm. Right. So it tells the morning sunrise will actually tell your body to start waking up. Watching the sunset will actually tell your body to start winding down. So it ends up helping with your sleep as well.
No, that's huge. And then it also helps with like mentality, like just it's serotonin release. Right. There's a lot of benefits to that.
100%.
So sleep and walking, then one more. What's another one?
One more. Lift heavy weights, man.
That's
lift heavy.
I would say lift heavy with a purpose, but then also be cautionary of how be cautionary of your body's response to your CNS. And if you don't know what that is, your central nervous system. And the only reason I say that is because I used to just go balls to the wall, like, oh my god, I gotta lift all this heavy, and then I'd be dead for the rest of the day. So
when I'm saying lift heavy weights, like you should only really be lifting heavy ass weights, like maximum of 4 times a week. Right. And then every once in a while you might need a deload week. Or, just make sure that you're also giving yourself time to recover in between.
Right? And nutrition goes with that. Like you can't just like, bro, if anybody's listening to this and you think you can just like, okay, technically you could just do a bunch of heavy weights and you should have some like progress, but eventually you're not gonna get anywhere near the same progress that you would if you recover properly, because your muscles require that to literally be built. Right. It has like
muscle doesn't come out of nowhere.
Right? No, they don't. They just can't just magically pop up. Right. And so what are some common mistakes that you see or have seen a lot with a lot of people on their fitness journey, and like how could they avoid them?
There's a lot. This is actually kind of a difficult one, and the reason why I find it so difficult is because there is 100 ways to skin a cat, and like you said, you can still get results even if you're not doing everything perfectly. But with that being said, some things that I would absolutely tell guys to sort of focus on is, number one, in the gym during your exercises, focus on that full range of motion.
Oh, definitely.
Right. That's a big one that you see a lot of, specifically young guys, really cheating on.
Lifting, right?
Ego lifting. And the reason why the full range of motion is so important is because that's how you get the most amount of muscle growth. 100%. Like it's not just like, you got to make it more difficult. That's not it. Right. You need to be able to get that full range of motion. You get majority of your muscle growth stimulus, that anabolic response, comes from the muscle being in the stretched position. So that's where your muscle is the weakest. Right. So you need to make sure that you're getting that full range of motion. Additionally, with the eating, if you can't gain weight, if you can't put on muscle, you're not eating enough.
Yeah.
I don't care how much you think you're eating.
They never eat a lot.
Eat more, bro.
Yeah,
I'm eating 5,000 calories a day.
Really?
Yes.
Holy fuck. See, I stand by. I'd rather have your metabolism than being fat. Because, like, if I ate 5,000 calories a day...
You'd be sick to your stomach, bro.
No, I could do it comfortably, 100%.
Every day. You could eat 5,000 calories 100%. One day.
No. Dude, I've eaten 20,000 calories in a day before. My metabolism...
In one day?
Yeah.
Dude, trust me. Day after day after day for months, it adds up.
I mean, I'm not gonna say okay,
but
there's different.
we don't need to argue about this. But
no, there's 5,000 is a lot, but I feel like fundamentally, a lot of people that are skinny are trying to build muscle, or trying to put size, and they're like, oh, well, I'm trying everything and I'm eating so much. They've never tracked their shit,
exactly.
And even if they do, it's inaccurate. And I know this because I've worked with like clients that like are 110 pounds soaking wet, and like they don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they're eating like 1,500 calories a day.
Yeah.
So fundamentally, eat more, but then focus on like protein and like.
Of course.
Then there's like all these nuances. Like you don't want a dirty bulk. I feel like, and you could touch on that. Like so many people dirty bulk, and like no, eating pizza, eating ice cream, eating cheesecake, you can do it, especially if you're trying to put on weight like 20%. But if you're doing that,
will go up.
Yeah, I mean,
right? Like, but it's not gonna...
ebbs and flows. It depends on how low of a weight you are actually. Like, I mean, if you're like 5'8" and 110 pounds, it doesn't really matter. I don't give a fuck if you get fat. You need to gain weight.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's actually like you're atrophic. You need to gain weight. It doesn't matter how. But I'd say a lot of people make the mistake of like dirty bulking, and then like then they build weight, but then they get fat. And they're like, why? Well, because you just ate like fucking shit.
Exactly. Like you're not actually, if you're dirty bulking, you're not actually giving your body what it needs in order to thrive.
Yeah.
Right? Like we said, the number on the scale will go up if you eat enough. Right? That doesn't mean that you're putting on muscle though.
Yeah.
Right? You're probably putting on a lot of fat, and your body's probably not actually feeling so good about itself.
Oh, 100%.
Right? And then the third thing that I would probably say is track your workouts.
Oh, yeah. So progressive overload.
Progressive overload. That way you know what you did last week exactly. You know how you felt last week exactly. Track things like, okay, I had a bad sleep last night. Maybe the weights won't move the same today.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, right? But you need to know exactly what you did last week so you know what to change in order to improve.
Yeah, 1,000%. I think so many people, especially with Instagram or YouTube, vice versa, or TikTok now, like, they're looking at their favorite influencer and they're like, oh, well, this guy does 17 different things every fucking exercise. I'm like 1,000%. If you filmed your workouts, or if I film my workouts, or any logical, like super high influencer type social media person filmed their shit, it'd be quite fucking boring.
Yep.
Because we do the same shit
same thing
for like 6 months in a row.
Yes.
And the only nuance is like if you're prepping for a show, you're probably going to change your programs, maybe like some more machine-based movements, so you're not like you have less chance of injury. Shit like, but literally, we do the same fucking 4 exercises, or some people do it 5 times a week, or some do it 6 for 6 months in a row, because you're actually able to do this crazy concept called progressive overload.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, but and this is probably, actually, I think, other than the eating, this is probably the biggest reason, and maybe the range of motion, but I think this is the biggest reason people fuck up and they don't get the results they're looking for when it comes to building strength and muscle, is because they're inconsistent. They walk into the gym with a different plan every single day. And I've had clients like not reach out to me, but like want in-person training. And they're like, well, I just want a different workout every time. I was like, okay, great. Get a new trainer. Right? Because the only thing, like, I'm just not bothering with that, but also you're literally not going to get fucking results.
Exactly.
Right? We could change it up to where like I could do push-pull leg A and push-pull leg B. So like every other week we're doing something different if that's 100% necessary, but it's kind of just nauseating. It's not necessary. Yeah. Right?
I mean, like you could switch up like, one of your last exercises here and there.
Yeah, like it doesn't matter for maybe like arms. It doesn't really matter that much, right? Or maybe like how many you could do a lateral raise 7,000 different fucking ways, right?
Yeah.
It's just, obviously it depends on the muscle contraction. Like you want to go with the best one.
Yeah, you want something you feel
right.
nice.
But like when we're talking about the bare bones compounds, like a chest supported T-bar row, there's no substitution for that, right? Like the best bodybuilders literally do the same when it comes to eating, when it comes to working out, they do the same shit, and that's how they get such ridiculously good results. And I'm not saying the Joe Schmo watching this needs to like just be a bodybuilder, no, but you can do the fundamental basics, which is like eat cleaner and track your shit, and then not have like 7,000 different fucking movements you're doing every time you're working out. It's just not going to yield results.
100%.
Well, I think that about wraps it up. This was a good podcast episode. So to quote Sean Evans, you have that camera, mainly that camera. Let the people know what you got going on.
All right. So I am currently really focusing on improving how I'm I'm really focusing on working with more competitors. That's sort of the focus that I want to start going into more so with my coaching. So if you are a first-time competitor or you want to be a first-time competitor, then you can hit me up on Instagram at Cosentino Fitness, and we will get you shredded for your first show.
Do you have any shows coming up, bro?
Right now I'm in my off season, but I am going to be aiming for Canadian Nationals next year.
That's
October.
Oh shit, that's like a long time from now.
Yeah,
you got a while. Okay, so then you gotta bulk up, put some size on.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure, bro.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome, dude. Well, I think that just about wraps it up. Obviously, I'll plug your for anybody not listening on YouTube. Like if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, all your details will be in the description on YouTube, and then when we do the Instagram shit, we'll do. It doesn't matter. I'll put all your info necessary. So if you're interested, you can check that out. And then if you're actually still listening to this, thank you. You have a very long attention span, longer than a squirrel. Or a peanut. I don't know. What's another analogy for that? Whatever. Just do me a solid and do the algorithm stuff. Like this and subscribe and drop a comment. And if you have any questions, eventually I want to do a Q&A episode, so that'd be cool. Or on Spotify as well, they have a new feature where you could leave a comment. And if you're on Spotify and listen to 3 episodes, which hopefully by now you have, please review it because it helps again with the boosting. It's all free. And until next time, thanks for watching.